Hello, I am Pastor Kelcey A. West of Nehemiah Ministries.
And I'm Pastor Kyle West of Outward LV right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are so excited to be here on YLC TV every Thursday at noon Pacific Standard Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dad, how you feeling today?
Listen, I am so excited to finally be able to release and share generational wisdom.
I believe wholeheartedly that God has something special that's going to take place here. Listen, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are helping people see that generations can work together. So I, of course, am from the younger generation. My dad is, of course, from the older generation. And one of the things that we want to do is put an end to the stigma that says that older generations and younger generations in the church can't work together. I have my own ministry. My dad has his own ministry, but we are working together to save souls in the city of Las Vegas.
That's right. So listen, every Thursday we want you to get ready, because the same way we're encouraging people to pass down generational wealth, we're going to pass down and share generational wisdom. So we want you to look forward to our Bible studies, our worship services, and guess what? Sometimes we may just sit down and allow you to see how we sit and talk every day as father and son. So stay tuned, get ready, because now it's time for generational wisdom.
YLC, what's happening, y'all? We are so excited to be here with a brand new episode of Generational Wisdom. Listen, I am so excited that you have taken time to tune in today for this powerful discussion. I believe today we have a topic that is really a game changer as always. We love to bring y'all content that is really going to cause us all to think and really begin to assess our views and perspectives, postures, all of it. So I'm excited. So listen, today I need you to go ahead, like, share, tag, invite as many of your friends as possible to tune in to today's episode of Generational Wisdom. Of course, my dad is here and he just took a selfie, so that means he must think he looks good. So I'm excited about it. So listen, y'all, what's up, Dad? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Amen. I'm grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for YLC. I'm grateful to be able to share generational wisdom with you. And you're right, I did just take a selfie. Yeah. And I took a selfie because I'm grateful to know that we're doing not just local, but national ministry. Yeah. And today we're going to talk about my favorite subject, global ministry.
That's right.
And so I'm feeling really good to know that God is at work through us here at Nehemiah Ministries.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it because I believe that right now we are in a really amazing time to really reach the world. You know, this network allows us to reach, the world. People are getting to see us that didn't even know us before. We're able to see people we didn't know before. And so today, as you did say, we are going to be talking about something very powerful, because I'm excited to announce alongside my dad that my dad is actually preparing to head to Zambia.
That's right.
Zambia, Africa, and I'm really hype about it because this is something that's really big. You heard God told you to go, and now you're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not just an American pandemic. This is a world pandemic. You are getting ready to board a plane and go over to Zambia, Africa, to do the work of, Jesus Christ. And I'm really fascinated by it because that is something that's really unheard of. We've been doing some stuff that's really unheard of all pandemic anyway. And so I know over here in America, everybody is so focused on what are we going to do for the church here, but there's still a call to go there. And so, and I know some people are like, well, going there has to do with your community and things of that nature. However, one of the things that we love to do is once we identify the common realities, I'll put it like that, then we need to go ahead and advance into the broader scheme of our assignments. And so today we're going to be talking about global ministry at large and the power and importance of it, and really just providing generational wisdom on this, because this is something that's real. This is something that's necessary, and this is something that we need to take advantage of. And so how you feel?
I think this is a moment for us to have such a conversation as this. I think along the way, when we think of generational wisdom, I think one of the places where we missed a step, is when we didn't talk about the importance of mission work. I think we've gone through seasons. You know, we need to build stadiums. We've gone through seasons, and we need to build platforms. We need to build brands. We've done all of that. But I think in the midst of all of this greatness, we forgot that we were called to do missionary work. And so I'm grateful. This is my third trip to Africa in 4 years. We did not go last year due to the pandemic, but I was invited this time to go. The first times I went, I was in Zimbabwe. I have agreed to serve as an ambassador to Zimbabwe through Gospel Link. And then this time I have been invited to teach for 2 weeks at the university in Zambia. And so I am extremely excited and honored to go and share the gospel. I will like to report there is a hunger and a thirst for the word that I have found there that reminds me of that when we read about the Berean church and the zeal that they had for the word. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I find in Africa. And so although we have a lot that's going on in the world right now, the call to go is greater than my thought concerning what could happen. I am really excited just about the call, the opportunity to go and share the gospel. And so from a generational wisdom point of view, I just want to encourage you and encourage others as you are creating your calendars, as you are creating all of the things that we now put into governing our churches, that we do not forget to create missionary ministries.
And I think that's something that's very important, especially in today's world where we're honestly seeing a bit of a renaissance. I've been talking about that. That's a word I've been using for the last few years. Different periods of time allow for there to be many renaissance movements where you see culture collide with what was and become what it should be for the time period. And I think one of the things that's happening is for the, honestly, in my opinion, I'm a studier of church history. We've had churches that have the title missionary in their name, or, we are global such and such, and you stay trapped on one side of the town. Or we are world outreach blank, 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 and it's like, yeah, but you only feed a family once a year. And so it's like really deconstructing the myth that churches aren't, going and actually taking resources, raising money and sending out and not just going across the world to do, but also doing it locally, because that's something I think that's very important. We're trying our best to make sure that, we're not just, being that ministry that's just like, oh yeah, we're just going to go over there, and because it's easier to hide out, but we have fruit here too. And so, I think that's very important, because right now my generation is really saying, well, what is the church doing? Yeah. Where is it going? And now we have that proof. And so, yeah,
I think now is a great time for our critical thinkers, for our visionaries, for those who really want to paint outside of the box. Now is a time for young leaders to really embrace home and global mission. Yeah. If you really want to stretch your wings, right now, I'll share this with you. This was the first time I went to Africa. You see it on TV, but there is nothing like preaching in front of a congregation that sort of knows your language, but they don't. Yeah. And so you're preaching with an interpreter, you're teaching with an interpreter, but this is what I love. Despite the fact there's a language barrier, people respond to the name of Jesus. Yeah. People respond the same way in their native language to the good news of the gospel. Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to us through generational wisdom. I'm looking forward in 2022 to us, allowing some missionaries, some younger missionaries to go with us to Africa. Yeah. So because they're young men and women. As a matter of fact, the 96 students that I'm going to be teaching, these are college-age students. So literally, I'll be standing in front of an outpour congregation. Mm-hmm. So thank you for preparing me, to teach this class that I didn't see. A few years ago, I didn't see that through different things that we were doing here locally. It was actually preparing me for this missionary global call. Yeah.
And I think that's something that's very important, because it speaks to something that we've been talking to on this platform of making sure that you are diverse enough to be able to go into different spaces, because American preaching is easy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to degrade the value of it, but it can become easy once you master, because these are your people. But when you have to go out into a place that isn't accustomed to our showmanship and our dress and things of the nature, but they really just want flat foot, teach me precept upon precept, like it's a difference. It's right. A difference.
Let me jump in, chime in before somebody unfortunately may take offense to what you just said. When I went to Africa the first time, so let me paint the picture. I'm in Africa for a pastor's conference. I'm preaching on the same day we are celebrating the life of Aretha Franklin in the States.
That's right.
So I'm in Africa with this sermon that I believe in my heart is going to shout Africa. I have my Aretha Franklin-ism analogies. I have my best preacher-isms. None of that stuff works, because in the middle of my sermon, a gentleman raises his hand and he says, "Who is Aretha Franklin?" And I said, "Sir, you've never heard of Aretha Franklin?" And the entire congregation shook their head and said, "We don't have a clue who Aretha Franklin is." And so then I began to understand and look at the culture. When you preach and teach in Africa, the students, the congregation, they only write when you say chapter and verse. Yeah. If you don't say chapter and verse, it's not the gospel. Yeah. Even your personal testimony better come after chapter and verse. Yeah. The structure of the lesson, I'll share this with you. I went into Sunday school because the first time I went, the first two times, we're involved in a pastor's conference. So you have 130 some pastors who travel up to 2 hours, amen, for this conference. And I mean, they're sharing huts. They're not worrying about their accommodations. They just want the teaching. And so after we teach, then we are assigned to go preach in the church. And so my first assignment, I go to the church. I'm thinking they're having a revival meeting. I'm thinking this is some type of special celebration because the church is on fire, man. It's a praise break going on. So I'm asking my host, I'm going, what's going on?
Yeah, what is the hype?
What am I walking into?
Yeah.
And he said, it's Sunday school.
Yeah.
He said, this is our excitement for the word every time we hear it.
That's right.
And I was so convicted because normally when we think Sunday school, sometimes, it's
boring.
Yeah,
it's something you skip over. Let's
right.
go get something to eat
Yes.
in between services
or
before service.
Yes,
yeah.
but
yeah.
in Africa, it's a highlight.
It's a highlight, yeah.
So they go from Sunday school and it's here. So
yeah.
what we consider a praise break in the States, that's Sunday school.
Yeah.
Then I go to service, and I'm expecting service to come down, and then we start service. It goes up, yeah. And it never comes back down. And so it's a beautiful experience that I hope many preachers from the States get a chance to experience, because it's not just a hunger for the word, but then you have a hunger for the apostolic.
Yeah.
You have a hunger for the prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a service where a sister comes in. She has her x-rays in one hand, and she's saying, my foot is broken 3 places, but she's dancing on it. Mm-hmm. And so that's still taking place. Just a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we need to speak to, because especially for younger leaders, we have got to make sure that we are crafting a culture in our churches. And if you're an auxiliary pastor or a ministry pastor in your church, whatever the title is that you all use in your specific, reformation, one of the things that we want to do is really help everybody understand there needs to be a culture built where the expectation is the word is the highlight. And that is something that I believe is going to really come after this pandemic, as the pandemic, of course, begins to cease and things of that nature. And I don't believe we're fully out of it yet. I think that there's still some time. But one of the things I believe, especially in the virtual sense, there is a real desire from all generations to really learn.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times from us as leaders, especially as head leaders, when we make something appear boring and when we make something appear like it's not necessary, the people will follow that. Our people are the beneficiary of our own excitement. And when we as leaders aren't excited for things like Sunday school, prayer, different meetings that you may have in your ministry, it kind of does. It draws the culture down. And I was really studying how. Back in the day, everybody tells these stories about how they would be in church every day of the week, and people really desired to be at church. And then over time, that desire has kind of drifted away. And the reality of it is the desire has drifted away because leadership, in a sense, has become lax in terms of pushing a culture that says, I care about your development. And one of the things that I've noticed is happening over there that we need to bring over here is really allowing that spirit of lax to leave and coming back in with the spirit that says, hey, y'all, my Sunday school is lit. We raising teachers up over here. We got stuff for the whole family. We got exciting topics. We're not just sitting up giving you something that's just going to, pass you by. We care about your development. And it's all in what we allow to happen, because reality of it is we need fresh curriculum. We, like you say, fresh rhymes over dope beats. All of that type of stuff is necessary, and that's what's taking place over there.
I'll share this with you. I'm looking forward to our future travels. I'm trusting that God will allow us to preach together, teach together in Africa 2022. I'm also believing that he's going to allow us to continue our fellowship and relationship with the YWAM, and we're going to go there to Kona, Hawaii for a mission conference. And I'm looking forward to that for this one word, exposure. I think one of the things that has limited us in the body of Christ is the lack of exposure. And so the more you are exposed to other cultures, other ways of sharing the gospel, other excitement, other atmospheres, it allows you to see the Bible differently.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I'm most grateful for. To go to Africa, I went with a clear mind. I didn't go with expectations. Even on this one, I don't want to over-research the school. I just want to go and let God have his way. And for those who might be wondering, yes, I'm teaching at the university in Zambia, and my subject matter is youth discipleship. And so these students, they're going to be in lab with me. I call studies lab. It's the laboratory. And so I have an 8-day curriculum that I will be sharing, and then they have a final exam. They have a 118 question final exam. And so that's my type of church. That's my type of studies. That's my type of lab. I truly believe that we should take pride in studying to show ourselves approved. I think we should take pride in being able to rightly divide the word. I think we should take pride in being able to not just throw scripture out there, but to be able to use it in its proper context. And so that's why I really want us to be a leader, if you will, if nothing else, but in our community of really rallying churches to really embrace missionary work again. I believe that there are some people right now who have been called to ministry, and it's not necessarily the local pulpit. I believe right now somebody's watching, you've been called to missionary work. It doesn't mean that you don't fit. Please, this is not for you to leave your church. This may be for you to go to your pastor, go to your apostle, go to your bishop, and share with them, this is what God is showing me concerning mission.
Exactly.
Then your church may not have a full-fledged mission relationship with another country. I don't recommend anybody just getting on a plane, going someplace. You want relationship. And so I would then ask that bishop, that apostle, that pastor, if you are not in partnership with Global Missionary Work, we are affiliated with Gospel Link. You can start with them, but try to find somebody that knows that region, knows that country, that can help you with your visas, can help you with your accommodations, who can tell you where to go, where not to go, and what you need to know concerning that area. And so
yeah, because if you can mess around and meet the very thing you think you're preaching against over here.
Yeah.
And so over here, we have a certain level of witchcraft that we face. But over there, they have real witch doctors and things of that nature that were in full effect.
In full effect.
And so be very careful.
You have to humble yourself and really listen to the people who know that region. But I really want to talk directly I want to continue this if I can, to that missionary. You have been called to ministry, but it may not be to the local community. You may have that heart. Everybody can't get on a plane and go to a country and sleep in a tent. Everybody can't go to a country and watch this. When I'm in Africa, I'm eating some American dishes, but I'm eating African food, brother.
You're really being taken care of.
Yes, in their culture.
Yeah.
And so, and it's exciting. I'm a meat eater. And so I'm eating meat. I don't always know what type of meat I'm eating, but I know I'm eating meat. And I know it's being prepared by people who have a love of God. Kyle, I wish, and I want to say this, and I hope I don't get emotional, because we don't get emotional on our show, but to be treated like a king in Africa is overwhelming.
Yeah.
We wake up and the people there, they fix the table for breakfast. Kyle, if we're having frosted flakes, sometimes breakfast is frosted flakes. It might be sandwiches, cheese sandwiches, not grilled, sandwiches with sliced cheese. It might be beans, not heated, cold beans. Coffee with milk, not water. But it's put on a table and it's set as if we're about to eat filet mignon and drink Dom Perignon. The table is set like that. There's three different glasses. There's bowls, there's knives and forks galore. And you're going, what is all of this for? And the people are saying, it's for you. They take being a preacher and a pastor so serious. And when I'm in Africa, so we'll teach and preach for the week. Saturday is sightseeing. So on Saturday when we sightsee, I need you, when I say please eat light that morning, when you go into a pastor's home in Africa, they prepare a feast. So we visited 7 pastors on the Saturday when your mom went with me last time. 7 pastors and their wives presented a feast. Now when I say feast, don't think meat. A feast could be fruit, but served in a feast-like setting. So you're going into a pastor's home, oranges may be sliced up, but it's being served to you on their best china. And to not eat is disrespectful. And so those are the things, man. It's just amazing to embrace culture. I also want to share this to the worker that's watching. Don't get upset with your church. Don't say you're not being fed. This may be the moment for you to bring a different type of work to your church. Mission work right now in Africa, wells are being built. Shouts out to Pastor Willie Cherry here in Las Vegas, because he was about this work long before I got started in building wells in Africa. Nurseries are being built. Orphanages are being built. Churches are being built. Kyle, when I go to Africa right now, let me go ahead and share this. We're going to release this right now on YLC for the first time. When I go to Africa on this trip, I am looking for the pastors who will sit down and talk with me about us having a Nehemiah campus in Africa and an Outport campus in Africa.
That's right.
I am going there specifically, in addition to my first assignment, but to find partnership and develop relationship so then we can expand the work that we're doing. So I wanted to share that.
No, and that's very real, because right now I think it is no greater time than to find yourself honestly being stretched by God, because you really have nothing but time and opportunity. And so I think that is something that is just very huge. It's very groundbreaking, and it will allow for there to be, of course, an expansion and an exposure to things. You talked about the word exposure a second ago, and I think that is something that's very, that we don't really dive into enough, because over here, our idea of exposure is I'll get the main service, I'll possibly get a few revivals a year, I'll get to preach for this guy. But the reality of it is, and this is something that I've been doing a study on, and this is something I was talking about with some of our leaders at Outpour. I was letting them know, I said, especially in Las Vegas, and this may be true for a lot of you all cities also. The population of cities in America, our top cities, millions of people, but our churches, especially in the black context, struggle to get to 1,000 in membership. So you mean to tell me you're 10% is a struggle? And one of the things that I'm learning is when we don't really deal with exposure well, it does breed that, that cycle of recycling members and things of that nature, because you're not able to really go out and, disciple fresh people. And so when you go out to another country and you start a work that gives you the opportunity to be able to share, hey, we're actually changing lives in this city, but we're changing lives in this country, and we have this partnership, and this is how many members we have, not even just in our congregation, but this is our virtual reach, and this is how we're reaching these countries, and this is how we have these satellite campuses, and they're doing Bible study, and et cetera. And it allows for us to begin to, as Christians, begin to dominate the different spheres of influence, because the reality of it is to me, that's really sad. We have millions of people in our cities, but, we struggle to, and this is not just a Vegas thing, this is church thing. Yeah. Churches struggle to reach, those numbers. I know everybody speaks against mega, but if you're a pastor that's saying you don't want a bunch of people, I think you're lying. Because what are you in it for?
They're there. And I'll say this right now, to those who have been watching our broadcast, we have used the word restructure. And so part of the restructure was, when you remember that moment when Jesus told his disciples, he said, stop doing what you've been doing, drop your net on the other side.
That's right.
Drop it on the left side. And so that's what we're doing right now. From a generational wisdom point of view, Kyle, we have perfected preaching to save people.
Oh, it's so
We write messages. We know how to save people. Mm-hmm. The art of preaching is now lost, because I don't know how many preachers really sit down and say, Lord, give me a fresh rhema word to help me reach an unsaved person. Yeah. If somebody walks into the church who have never heard of Jesus, do I have a message that will introduce them, not the 5 steps to feel good, not 3 steps for you to shout, not 30 seconds and here's the praise break. No, but here is the gospel. Here's the good news. Allow me in this setting to introduce you to your Redeemer.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't know how far we're away from that, but I know we need to get back to it. Mm-hmm. So that way, when we're doing missionary work, the goal of missionary work is to go and to develop Christians. That's what we're doing, man. We're going, and you have people who may have had a different belief system, but we're going to present the gospel, which means that's a different level of training. Yeah. I think one of the weaknesses for us as Christians, even locally, we don't do enough mission work. No. We don't do enough evangelizing. And so now the thought of me leaving my neighborhood that I haven't witnessed to and go to another country and witness, that's frightening. That's frightening. But if we would make evangelism an actual consistent part of ministry, it would help us when it comes to missionary work.
That's so true, and that's something that I think we need to make a generational wisdom point. Until you dominate your home, you shouldn't really be talking about nation, because that's something that really is an overly abused thing. You're called and you're going to the nations. It's like one of the easy go-to prophetic tricks of people in 2021 to make somebody shout in a sanctuary, oh my God, I just knew it. My whole life, God been telling me I'm going to the nations. And, you barely could get people from your high school. And it's like, we have to begin to really look at that and go, man, we need a real culture change.
That's right. And understand what being called to the nations means.
So
to somebody who's watching, let me explain what that means. On June 3rd, I'm going to board a plane.
in a pandemic.
And I'm going to fly from here to New York, and then I'm going to get on another plane, and I'm going to cross the Atlantic, not by ship, but by plane.
Yep.
And then when that plane lands, I'm in North Africa. I'll board another plane and then fly to South Africa, get on another plane, and then fly northward to Zambia. Now, once I'm there, the accommodations for this one is a little bit different because I'm on the university. I'm still being asked to bring my own towels. I have a problem with that. I have been told that meals are going to be prepared. I've been forewarned to get accustomed to beans and rice. No problem. On previous trips, I may have showered twice in a week. I didn't always have the snacks that I might be used to.
That's right.
Certain things I'm used to. Get that out your mind. Being called to the nations mean not only are you studying context, but you better study culture.
That's right.
Because the culture is different. Do me a favor. Would you shake my hand? And then shaking my hand, give me your thumb. Okay, close your hand. That right there. When you go to Africa, that right there means we're brothers. That's what that means. So brothers or men are going to walk up to you, and they're going to say, "Hey, Kyle." They're going to do this. It took me a minute to figure out what that meant. That meant you're my brother. And so you have to being called to the nations means you have to understand culture. Here in the States, women dominate church. In Africa, men dominate church. Yeah. In the States, women dominate praise and worship. That is not the case in Africa. Yeah. In Africa, you wake up, you've seen The Lion King, or even Coming to America. In Africa, at 5 a.m, you hear the missionaries, the women are praying.
And sidebar, we're not saying that women should not be active. What we're saying is over there, they're doing it the biblical way because the man should be leading in worship. Yeah. The man should be leading in prayer. The men should not be leaving the responsibility of the spiritual state of a city, a country, a region, a household to a woman. It is on the man to do it. Over there, they're not struggling with men attending the church and stuff like that. So we're not saying that women are an issue. I will say this, though. Over here, women are overly used because we don't have men that are getting to work, but that's another conversation.
We're talking culture.
We're talking culture.
5 in the morning, this is what I wake up to. First of all, let me go back. I wake up to the rooster crowing. Yeah. So there's a rooster that crows, wakes me up. Yeah. Now I'm listening for the missionaries. They're praying. The next sound I hear the sound of men leading worship. I can close my eyes and there's a sound like no other. Yeah. Those men are leading worship. Now, in the States, we now look down on the Dr. Watts songs. You know, we don't sing no more. That's old. But in Africa, a man will toss out something, and then the other man will sing. I didn't know the language. I didn't know what they were singing. And so it's praise and worship nonstop. Now, when we started our conference, you were like this. We started singing, "How Great Is Our God." And we started off singing it in English. Then the director there said, "Sing it in your language." So you have 135 pastors from different places, and they're different dialects and all of this stuff. We're singing the same song, and it was perfect harmony. Now, in the States, we need monitors. We got to have the musicians right, all of that stuff. When I was there, the drummer was missing pieces. The keyboard was using something the average keyboard player here would never play with. The mics are barely working. We're in a building where the roof is making noise. Yeah. Forget all of that. We're singing "How Great Is Our God," and it was in perfect harmony. Kyle, I just want us to be exposed to worship. That's right. Worship is not about all these external factors that we allow to distract us from just standing and lifting our voices and declaring how great is our God.
I think one of the things that you are really hinting at is that we have got to destroy the bougie culture in order to really be able to do real ministry. Because that's something that we oftentimes don't look at. Because it's kind of funny, but I carry my own water. I really do carry my own Bible. I carry my own bag. It's not that I can't have somebody do it. It's just I just do it for myself. Like I'm a grown man. I really don't have to. Like I'm fine with that. I'm not bougie. I don't think I'll ever be that way. And one of the things that I've noticed is in our culture, especially like young guys, it's like, man, you know, you're 15 people traveling with you and you can't even, you know, pick up your own iPad or your own. It's like, no, but you gonna get over there and get your feelings hurt.
I was so
that ain't
humbled.
what they're doing.
I was so humbled. This was the last trip to Zimbabwe. I was so humbled. On our way to the church, so we're passing people where we went, the pastor came, picked us up, then we had an hour drive to his church. On our way to the church, you're passing people, they're walking to church, shouting, they're already in praise and worship, so they're really entering in, amen, with thanksgiving and praise.
Yeah.
So he's telling me on the way there, he's saying, you are our pastor today. Now, I've been a guest speaker for the last 23 years. That's not what he meant. Yeah, no. He said, you are our pastor today. And he started calling me father. He said, we follow you today. And so once service started and I realized just what he was saying and how spiritually in tune I needed to be to lead these people who I'm meeting for the first time through worship, despite I don't even speak your language, was overwhelming. It was so overwhelming to where when I first stood, I could not stand without first honoring the pastor. And so it's not my culture here. I guest preach all the time. But in that moment, in that setting, in that atmosphere, under that anointing, I called for people to bring me some water. And I had to wash his feet. I need to first humble myself even more because, God, I'm in awe of what you're doing. And so we had just a wonderful, wonderful time. And this is why I want people to be exposed. There is a level of fellowship. I've been a guest preacher before, and sometimes we guest preach for people, and after the church is over, we go our separate ways. And so with this one, not only did I preach, but then we fellowship as a church. The church will go outside and the mothers will bring fruit. So now you're sitting on the ground and you're sharing fruit with each other. And the kids, everybody, it's just fruit. And then we went and broke bread. I want people to be exposed to why the scripture said how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity.
That's right.
The gospel unifies us.
Yes.
The good news of Jesus Christ breaks down barriers. And so I just want people to experience this.
Yeah. And that's something I want us to really drive home, especially as we prepare to kind of wrap up. Right now, and you mentioned it earlier, but there is a real strong desire from these countries and from these places for us to come over because we have the education, we have the preaching, we have the ability, and they need what we have. And I know a lot of times for especially younger pastors, older pastors, middle-aged pastors, whoever you are, if you're like anybody in this pandemic, you kind of question your whole reason of existence during this pandemic. Kind of made you go, man, am I really supposed to be doing this? Do I really need to keep going? Do I really, did I really hear God? Was my call really a call, or was it, what was it? You know, and I encourage people to really find yourself connected to an organization like this, because I guarantee you, when you get the opportunity to be heard or to be experienced by these people, it helps you see the validity of your call. It helps you see the validity of who you are. You know, the Bible talks about how a prophet isn't received always in his own home. And it's not until you go out that you're able to see it. Well, some of y'all think that's talking about your church. But what it's talking about is how prophets in their home, in their own land, not the church, in their land, sometimes they're not always received. But it's not until that prophet goes out into another land where that prophet is able to really be able to come to grips with the emotional toll and the physical toll of the weight of the call, where you're able to see, man, I really do have a purpose. I really did hear from God. I really did, God really he does have something for me, because there are people who need what I have to offer.
And I want to share this as not only as a pastor, as a pastor, as a missionary, but as your dad. I just want those who are watching, I just want you, my son may talk more about how you can partner with us, but I want you to partner with us on today in prayer, because as I travel to another country, this is not just a pastor, but he's my son. And so I'm a long way away, but I'm believing that the prayer of the righteous, it still avails. It avails much. And so I'm asking you, amen, to remember me in your prayers, remember our ministry, remember I'm traveling with 22 people to Zambia. And so I want you to just keep us in your prayers that we're going to go and we're going to come back safely. I'm going to ask that you would touch and agree. In my heart right now, I don't fear COVID. I had COVID here in the States. It was painful. It didn't attack my lungs. I wasn't hospitalized. I quarantined, recovered. I've been vaccinated, but it's not the vaccination that's giving me comfort. My comfort lies in the fact that I believe with everything that's in my heart that I'm doing the will of God. And so I'm asking you to pray that I stay in that mindset, because he didn't give us the spirit of fear. That's right. So we're going to go over and we're going to teach with boldness. We're going to teach with clarity. And I can't wait in June to come back and we have a generational wisdom show presentation, and I'm able to give the report, amen. Not only that the lessons were received, but hopefully somebody may stand and cry out, what must I do to be saved? So I just want to share that. Thank you so much for allowing me to share in this amazing platform. And to Mark Moore, brother, thank you so much. You have a global heart, you have a global mind, and I just appreciate, amen, how you are being obedient for such a time as this. And now I'll yield to my son, Kyle.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you put that on that you said that, because this is a network of pastors that I've been able to connect with, that we've been able to connect with, that really are focused on bettering the presentation of the church. There is such a thing where people just speak so down, and it seems like everything, you stub your toe in your living room, it's the black church's fault. It's just like, oh my God. But this is a network of people who are really coming together to say, we want to make sure that there is quality content, quality information, quality conversation that is not being distorted by a toxic presentation that is antichrist, but that we're focused on making sure people understand that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one gets to the Father except through him. And so the reality of it is that this trip is going to be very necessary. So we're definitely going to be covering my father in prayer. Keep me in prayer also, because of course while he's out, I'm taking care of everything here. But next year I definitely will be joining him. And I can't wait to see what God does and how God moves there, because I am excited to go. If anybody knows me personally, you know that I document everything. And when I say document, I'm a vlogger, I'm a photographer, I do all that type of stuff. And so I'm very serious about it, so I can't wait to be able to bring receipts, praise God, because I know that's something that we use in this time period. But do you have receipts? Yes, we have receipts of our fruit. And so one of the things I want to help everybody realize is coming across your screen, if you would like to sow into this trip, if you would like to partner with us on this trip, I encourage you right now to sow, partner with us, help us grow this ministry, help us grow generational wisdom, help us get this message out. YLC Network, it's not just in the States. I want to help y'all with that. This is something that is much more big, it's much bigger than we realize. And I have released a word over this network, I believe during one of our first shows that we did like this, that this would be something that would be a lot bigger than what we've realized. I know a lot of people talk about the grandness of God, but the grandness of God is really upon this network. And I really want us to really realize that there's a lot of ministries on this network that are doing the work of furthering the church. And so I ask that you partner with us today. Help us spread the news of Jesus Christ. This is one of many trips that we will be on, so I encourage you to sow. So come across the screen, there will be a bar with the giving information to sow into this trip. Whatever God lays on your heart, we encourage you to do so. There is no amount. Whatever God, if God tells you to send $1, listen, That is one more dollar that helps this trip be accomplished. So we are so excited for it. We are grateful for it. And we're just going to pray to end today's show. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for your amazing heart, your love towards us, God, for you allowing us to see the value and importance of helping a sick world be healed and helping a lost world become found in your love, in your grace and mercy. God, we ask today that you would cover the man of God. Help him to have all that he needs as he quests out to spread your amazing word, your heart, your love. And as he prepares to teach and go, God, help him to be able to trust and lean on your voice even more, God. Strange lands carry strange assignments, God. But in this, we know that you are giving him strength. We know that you are giving him the power, the ability, the zeal to fulfill the task that you have graced upon him in this season. And we understand that even as this message is being shared, that there are others out there that are being, whose hearts are being filled with a desire to go out. And old desires are even being reawakened in this moment to help people go out and do the work of the Great Commission. America will be saved, and every other country in this world will be saved. Even the small villages that have never heard your name, they will know that Jesus Christ is the way. Father, we thank you for the apostolic work. We thank you for the apostolic giftings. We thank you for the apostolic structure. And God, we honor you because you have showed us that this is the way. Father, we honor you. We bless you. It is in Jesus' name that we pray and give thanks. Amen. YLC, we love you. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show, and we hope to see you soon right here on Generational Wisdom.
God bless.